So I recently put out a video about the EufyMake E1 UV printer, and there's been a lot of questions about this machine. It's currently running on Kickstarter, and I thought I'd do my best to answer as many of the questions that you guys have in this video to help make your decision on whether you want to back this machine. And a quick overview, this is a UV printer, meaning that you can print on basically any type of flat surface. So this is like printed directly on wood. I've also printed on metal, I've printed stickers, I've printed cups. It's a really, really cool technology. But there was really one huge concern that all of you had, and that was the cost of the ink. So just like a normal printer, it comes with ink cartridges right here at the top, and they come in boxes like this, and they're basically like little resin tanks. And a full set of these is cyan, yellow, magenta, black, gloss, and then actually 2 white. So you get a set of 7. You're getting 2 because a lot of times you're gonna have an underlayer. So actually with this case, when your bottom surface isn't white, you're gonna put white first and then print on top of it. So you wind up using a lot more white, especially if you're printing on surfaces where you don't have white. Now you don't have to do that every single time. So this is like a white ceramic tile. And so it didn't have to do a white underlayer for this guy, but for a lot of it you do. And that is why you have 2 of these. But there were a lot of comments on the video that basically this set of ink is gonna be about $300. And that is expensive, especially if you're coming from a normal inkjet printer. But I do wanna put that a little bit into context. First, when we're talking about UV ink specifically, and you actually look at other machines, so like machines from Epson or Roland, you're gonna be about in that same price range. And so the easiest way to think about it is just the amount per milliliter. So each of these is 100 milliliters. So all these together gives us 700 milliliters, which gives us a price per milliliter of 43 cents. With Epson and Roland, you're in the 40 to 50 range. And then some cheaper machines, so like from Pro Colored, you can get a little bit cheaper from there. But to really get into the cheaper ink, you wind up having to use like generic manufacturers and generic machines. And so that was another limiting factor that a lot of you guys noted, is you're basically locked into using these inks with this machine. And that definitely is the case. And there's actually some electronics within those resin modules as well. So they're communicating directly with the machine. There might be a case in the future where you can use third-party stuff that is cheaper, but as of currently, you're not going to be able to. Now, I did ask EufyMake these questions directly, and their official answer in terms of the pricing is that yes, $300 is the list price for a 7 cartridge kit, but there's gonna be bundled promos and seasonal discounts, which will significantly lower real-world cost. So read into that what you want, but I always recommend people not basing their purchase decision on a future scenario. So as of right now, I would just assume these would cost $300. But with that being said, what does that mean in terms of actual prints? So there's been a lot of videos that people have put out recently since I did mine, kind of showing the cost per print. And so what I wanted to do is actually put together a tool that you can use to kind of get a ballpark idea of how much it's gonna cost to do a single print. And then like how many prints can you get with a set of these? And I've actually loaded in prints that I have done, or I've run through their software to get an idea of the amount of ink that it's going to require. So if you click over to use sample, you can see there's just a bunch of random ones in there. A lot of this I did for testing, so they might look super random. But one is this example right here. So this is our Mandalorian and Grogu poster that is about 300 millimeters. And specifically, this is with the white underlayer and then the COIMK layer on top. And so with that, you can see we are going to get a cost per print at about $1.22, which works out to about 245 of these per ink set. Now, depending on what you want to do, that might be either really cheap or really expensive. And definitely as you scale this up even bigger, it gets more expensive. But if you're thinking through this is a product you might want to sell, then that can be a hard cost you put in with your like material costs, so you can actually get a profit when you sell it. But I did some other ones as well. Again, if I click over to the use sample, so especially if you do ones that are smaller, so I'm gonna look at this guy right here, which is about 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters, which works out to about 4 by 4 inches. That's gonna be a cost to print about 20 cents or about 1,500. And you guys can see the breakdown right here from there. Now to show you some smaller stuff, this is going to be 50 millimeters or about 2 inches by 2 inches. And this is just a color print. So this is if you're doing on something white. This is gonna be about a penny to print, or 20,000 of these that you could actually print. So your price definitely balloons up as you go up inside. Now I do have some examples where I'm using white, I'm using the color layer, and then I'm using a gloss on top. So there is a gloss layer that you can basically apply to the top as a top coat. And so when we're doing that, I've got a few samples as well. Again, this one is 100 millimeters by 100 millimeters, or about 4 inches. And this is going to be 20 cents or 1,500 prints per set. Now, hopefully by the time this video goes live, I am also trying to get the calibration right, where basically you can upload your own image. Now, I still need to dial in the price, so this actually isn't right, but hopefully it will be by the time this goes live. But this is going to process the image on color, so you get an idea of like the breakdown by channel, and then apply the white and the gloss if that is a setting that you want to do. So I encourage you guys to check that out. This isn't exact, but it's definitely going to give you a ballpark. But if you are using the samples, that's actually data that the machine has given me directly. So that is going to be the most accurate, that hopefully gives you the best idea of how much this is going to cost you. All right, moving on from there, a lot of people had questions about the cleaning cartridge. I tried to address this in the original video. And so EufyMake's official response is that these will last for 10 deep cleaning cycles. And a deep cleaning cycle runs if you haven't done anything for 72 hours or 3 days. And basically after that, the printer is in a standby mode where you can actually unplug it, and it's going to be good to go for long storage. And they said you can have it in that state for up to 6 months. There's actually a few different cleaning processes outside of that deep cleaning that automatically will run like every hour and then every day. And you can trigger that from the software whenever you want. It's just on an auto schedule as well. And kind of the process is there's like cleaning fluid that is stored within inside of this, and this attaches on the side of the unit. And it's gonna like flush the lines. It's gonna bring the ink in here, so you are gonna waste ink when it goes through that deep cleaning cycle, but hopefully you don't have to run it that much if you're just gonna be storing it for a while. Now there was another question about subscription plans, and specifically around the inks, whether this is like a refill one that you can do kind of like Amazon Prime style. And the official response was not currently at this time. Now there was one other big pricing question, and that had to do with tariffs in the United States, and if those are going to adjust the prices in Kickstarter. And the official response from EufyMake was the Kickstarter pricing is locked in and it will not change. So the prices that you see now and you back it, you should be good to go. All right, another question I got a lot, specifically when you're doing prints onto tumblers and mugs, is this dishwasher safe? Now this version is actually just a sticker that I put on top of here, but I did do a few like test prints on a mug, and I kind of messed up directly on the mug itself. And so people want to know, can you run that through the dishwasher? Again, this is officially from EufyMake. They said no, a detergent high pressure spray can lift cured ink. Market these as hand washed only. Now, I definitely have seen other people saying they've run their mugs through the dishwasher, and it probably does hold up. And I know there is like resin that is dishwasher specific, but currently what they're providing does not really stand up to that environment. So if you want to stay on the safe side, just hand wash it, and you'll be good to go. Okay, so there's another question around DTF, and this was actually something I was confused about at first when I got into it, because I have a DTF printer, and that just stands for direct to film. So you print directly on a piece of film. In this case, this is a sticker. With my other DTF printer, that is really set up to do shirts. Then once you get the print off the machine, it's still wet. And so then you take it through some powder glue, you bake that glue on with a heating element, and then you use a heat press to transfer that onto a shirt. That is not the way UV printing works. Again, this is using a UV light to immediately cure your ink. So this is like completely dry when it's coming off the machine, or more or less dry. And so while you still are printing to film, so it's still like DTF, so they either have these little sticker sheets, bigger sheets that print on the bigger bed, and I think they're gonna come out with a full roll, so you can do like a full line of stickers or decals or whatever you wanna do. Those aren't designed to go on fabric because it's already cured. So you're not gonna be able to transfer the glue and bank that on. The UV prints are designed to sit on top of hard surfaces, not get embedded down into soft fabric. And that also speaks a little bit to the flexibility. I saw some questions about that as well. So these prints aren't gonna be as flexible as something that you need for fabric. They still are like flexible, so like I had no issue whatsoever. I'm curving it around this, but there is some like stiffness to this, and it will hold its shape a little bit more than what you might find with more of a traditional printer. Now I had some more questions about the amount of time it takes to print. And I do as good of a job like recording the data on that. I can say simple prints like this, even though this is like a relief print, but pretend this is just like a flat print. This took like 2 to 3 minutes. So just the CLI MK layer on this little ceramic disc. Now to do the relief print, which has a bunch of layers of UV, this was more in the like 30-minute to an hour range, where this one is also closer to that range. I want to say this was closer to an hour. This isn't relief, but this is that 2-stage process of white underneath and then color on top. So the timing definitely does go up. And that is something when you get into bigger, more expensive machines, the throughput of those machines are a lot higher. A lot of times they're using multiple print heads. And then some questions around the rotary. Specifically, people are asking if you could do tapered objects. And that is definitely supported because this entire side can lift up and down. So it can make a taper flat. And then it can print on top of it. What it can't do though is do like multiple dimensions. So like a big Yeti cup where you have the thicker top and the smaller bottom. Can't print on both surfaces that suddenly change. It has to be like a smooth taper or smooth angle for it to be able to work. Now there were some questions in terms of warranty. And so this is coming with a extended 3-month warranty that is designed for the print head. And then they're gonna have optional like extended 12-month warranty if you buy it. So it might be a little concerning that it's like only 3 months for the print head. What kind of brings me to the last comment that a lot of people had, and this is specifically with the previous product that EufyMake had, and that is with their M5 and M5C 3D printer. I actually did videos on both of those, and those came out around the same time as the Bamboo Carbon and that full wave of like fully enclosed printers. And Bamboo and their like clones kind of ran away with that market. So I did ask them that question, and their official response is EufyMake will continue supplying parts and accessories for legacy printers and scaling E1 support. So I know some people have had good experiences, some people haven't had great experiences with the support on their old 3D printers. So no, that is something to keep in mind. But I will say with EufyMake, so since they're like connected with Anchor and Eufy, like the cameras, it is a much bigger company. So it's not quite the fly-by-night manufacturer that we see with a lot of these Kickstarters. Again, this is like a full-fledged product, down to like the full branding on the boxes for the ink, stuff you just definitely don't see for an initial scale Kickstarter. I am very confident in their ability to ship the product, but again, there are valid concerns for what that support of this product looks like for the long term. And then there's a few questions about the software in general. And so I'm using it on a Mac. And actually this software is like one of the few I've ever used that work on a Mac. Normally like RIP software, which is what you have to use for this style printing, you have to use with Windows. So it's nice that you aren't as locked into that system. Everything is over Wi-Fi. And again, I can do it directly from the computer or from the app as well. And in general, the software is pretty easy to use. There's nothing like super special about it. It's pretty standard from what you've probably seen from other of these style software. But I will say the 2.5D like relief texture generation is really nice with how they have that integrated, actually using AI to generate those textures, and then you get a really nice 3D preview. So that process normally would be really complicated, and they make it pretty easy. And that is actually one thing where there is going to be a subscription. I know we had that question earlier. And so they are saying there's going to be a subscription for the software on 3 tiers. So free, then like a mid tier, and then a pro tier. And what they're saying is all the functionality you'll be able to use on the free tier. Just the higher ones open you up to more AI credits, where if you are using that relief design conversion process, and then they already have a few AI tools in there in terms of the image generation, you'll get like more credit as well as like more storage. But the actual features of the printer don't seem to be locked down like other manufacturers seem to do. All right, I am planning on doing a few follow-up like project videos that are specific. So if there's something you would actually like to see printed, let me know down in the comments. And again, if you have any questions, let me know as well. Okay, until next time, go make or break something in your shop. See you guys.